Chapter 7, Capturing the Rapist in the Great Disturbance. At Shi Family Lane, meeting on a narrow path to cleverly oppose the eight-fingered monk. This Wu-Hu shrine was a famous ancient site in Shu. On the walls were many poems and inscriptions by famous people. After Zhu Chun browsed for a while, he casually walked to the river viewing tower, ordered a pot of wine and several dishes, and ate alone. Suddenly he heard footsteps on the stairs. Up walked a person dressed as a martial arts young master, with a face like fine jade. Extremely handsome, except his entire face carried an improper air. He wore a blue satin-embroidered warrior's cap with a trembling bull-sized pink peony made of rice paper inserted at his temple. Alone he ordered some wine and food but didn't eat properly, using both eyes to stare fixedly downstairs. Zhu Chun watched for a long time, finding it very strange, and also looked down. It turned out that by the riverside was moored a large boat with many female family members aboard. Among them was a woman grown extremely beautiful who was just leading the boat to board a sedan chair. At martial arts young master, seeing this, hurriedly threw down a string of silver to pay for the wine and hastily strode downstairs. Zhu Chun observed that this person was definitely not good, so he also paid his wine bill and followed. Suddenly he saw ahead a Taoist with a large red gourd on his back slowly walking forward. Looking carefully, it was the drunken Taoist he'd met that day at Mount Emmy. Whether to chase that lecher minus having with difficulty encountered such a rare person, how could he let the opportunity slip by? But to let go and not chase seemed too selfish and would fail the sacred duty of chivalry. Just as he was hesitating, Chengdu's sedan share carriers with their famous flying legs had already run off who knows where, and that martial arts young master had also disappeared without a trace. Having no choice, he could only secretly follow the Taoist. The Taoist seemed not to know Zhu Chun was following him and walked slowly ahead. Zhu Chun's heart was secretly delighted, thinking this time he definitely wouldn't easily miss the chance. He just followed closely behind that Taoist. The Taoist only walked toward the fields. No matter how Zhu Chun pursued, the distance was always no more than 10 or 20 zhang. Later Zhu Chun became anxious and blurted out, "Taoist master ahead, please stop your honored steps minus this disciple has words to offer." But that Taoist, hearing Zhu Chun's words, walked even faster. No matter Zhu Chun's lightness skills, he couldn't hope to catch up. In the blink of an eye, the Taoist had disappeared from sight. Zhu Chun knew the Taoist was unwilling to see him and had no choice but to return dejected to his inn. After the watch was set, just as he was about to rest, suddenly a slight breeze blew by and out of thin air a note appeared on the table. Zhu Chun hurriedly leapt outside. He saw only bright stars in the sky and silence all around. Far away in the deep lanes he faintly heard dogs barking. Returning to his room to look at the note, he saw it in 3 large characters: Shi Family Lane. The writing was rich with ink, the spirit soaring. Looking at these characters, they seemed very familiar, as if he'd seen them somewhere. But for the moment he couldn't recall. He thought Shi Family Lane is all wealthy households minus what relation does it have to me. His heart was very puzzled. Later thinking again, could it be that some incident occurred there, and the person who sent the note couldn't handle it alone and was asking him to go help? Whether it was or wasn't, he'd go there and see. So he took his weapons, closed the door tightly, leapt out from the window, and all along the way flew over roofs and vaulted over ridges. Just as he was going, he suddenly saw ahead a black shadow flying forward like lightning. Just as it reached Shi Family Lane, it suddenly disappeared. Zhu Chun thought Shi Family Lane Street is very long minus which household should I go to first? Never mind, he'd first get on the roof of the first house minus, but it was quiet without any sound. Just as he reached the 3rd house, which was a large courtyard, he suddenly saw lights still on upstairs. Zhu Chun hurriedly leapt over and looked in through the window. He couldn't help but be filled with towering rage. Inside the room, an extremely beautiful woman had been stripped completely naked and tied to a rice-sounding bench, already fainted. The martial arts young master seen during the day was loosening his belt and undressing, wanting to rape that woman. Zhu Chun couldn't help but shout, "Good rapist! How dare you rape a respectable woman? Won't you come out and accept death?" That thief, hearing this, said, "Who dares to ruin your master's good deed?" Having said this, he blew out the lamp with one breath, opening the room door. He first threw a chair outside. Zhu Chun deflected it to the side with his sword and was waiting for him to come out to kill him when suddenly he heard wind behind his head. Knowing someone was attacking from behind without turning his head, he diagonally leapt forward. This thief followed with a slash of his blade. Zhu Chun hastily parried and countered. It turned out this thief was extremely cunning, minus he first threw the chair but actually flew out from the window, wanting to ambush Zhu Chun. If Zhu Chun hadn't long experienced great enemies, he would have already suffered harm. Zhu Chun fought with the lecher for over 10 rounds, and felt this thief's movement and blade techniques were very skilled. He shouted, "Lecher, under whose tutelage are you? What's your name? Declare your name and accept death. Under my soaring crane of the cloud sword, I don't kill nameless ghosts." That thief, hearing these words, couldn't help but laugh wildly. "Yerzhu III, my master only thought you wouldn't come to Chengdu minus, who knew you'd actually come to your death. Your master here is the 8-fingered Chan Master Miao Tongs, the many-armed Bear Mount Eye's disciple, main divine walker without shadow pink peony Sheng Liang." Hearing it was his adversary, Zhu Chun couldn't help but feel a shock of alarm. He also feared Mao Dai would come to help and he wouldn't be a match. So he deployed all his life's ultimate skills minus his whole body danced up a massive sword flowers, tightly enveloping that thief. Though Zhang Liang's martial arts were strong, after all he wasn't Zhu Chun's match. Unfortunately, this household's master surnamed Wang was also a martial artist, awakened by the sounds of shouting and killing. At first, seeing two people fighting, he estimated one must be a good person but couldn't tell who was good and who was bad. He only held tight his own room door and didn't dare come forward to help. When he heard that thief report his name, he could distinguish right from wrong, so he led his household servants forward to help. That thief, seeing things were going well, found an opening to leap up and jump onto the wall. Zhu Chun said, "Where are you going?" Person and sword flew up together minus with just one swing he'd already severed the lecher's legs. He fell head first down and died from the pain. Everyone quickly secured him with nets and invited Zhu Chun inside to sit, bowing thanks for his life-saving virtue. Zhu Chun said, "Though this thief is captured, you all must absolutely not spread the word. He has a master named Mount Ai who has already refined into a Sir Immortal. If he learns of this, all your family's lives will be hard to preserve." The household master named Wang Chun Xiu, hearing Zhu Chun's words, couldn't help but be greatly alarmed and wanted Zhu Chun to help. Zhu Chun said, "I'm also not this person's match. As long as he doesn't know for now, in a few more days someone who can subdue him will come. So, temporarily you cannot spread the word. Tomorrow morning you put this person in a leather trunk and quietly report first to the authorities, having them secretly imprison him. Wait until we capture Mount Ai and deal with him. My staying here is useless and brings disaster minus even worse." Wan Cheng Xiu knew he couldn't persuade him to stay and could only follow his instructions. No more of this. Zhu Chun quietly returned along the original route to his inn. Though tonight he'd accomplished a righteous deed, unexpectedly he'd inadvertently formed an even deeper blood feud with Mao Dai. He clearly knew the drunken Taoist with the gourd on his back was a great helper, but he let the opportunity slip by again. His thoughts surged like tides and he couldn't sleep peacefully all night. The next day, after eating lunch at the inn, he went to various places inside and outside the city to visit and search for the drunken Taoist's residence. For several days in a row, there was still no trace. One day he casually walked outside the city to a grove of trees when suddenly he saw through the green shade a corner of red wall faintly showing. He knew it was a temple. Zhu Chun at this time felt somewhat thirsty, so he walked toward that temple gate, wanting to go in and make an offering while asking for a drink of water. Just as he was not far from the temple gate, he suddenly heard on the main road the clear ringing of carriage bells. Rapist rose. There were over 10 riders on horseback flying like lightning straight toward the temple gate. Zhu Chun was naturally a careful person and flashed his body to the side. He saw on horseback that group of people, about 13 or 14, one dressed as a Taoist and the rest in secular garb. Their forms extremely fierce. On each person's body was a bundle, seeming to all conceal weapons. At first the temple gate was tightly closed. When that group of people reached the temple, the leader was a tall, lanky fellow. He swung his wood chip and struck the temple gate 3 times. In a moment the temple gate opened wide. Over 10 riders, both people and horses, without a word surged inside. After that group of people entered, the temple gate again closed tightly minus quiet without a sound. Zhu Chun's heart knew this group was definitely not good people, but this temple wasn't far from the city minus it seemed it shouldn't harbor bandits. Wanting to see clearly, he walked toward that temple gate. He saw this temple was built extremely magnificently and majestically. On the temple gate plaque were, in 6 large gold characters, Imperial Construction Xianshan Temple. Zhu Chun thought, I've long heard Xian Temple is Chengdu's famous monastery. The temple's abbot, the monk Xie Jiatong, maintains strict precepts and the monks' regulations are very good. How could they associate with these bandits? If you say they're passing pilgrims, the situation doesn't seem right. Just as he was thinking to pretend to enter the temple to make an offering and see clearly, suddenly with a splat, a lump of dry mud landed right on Zhu Chun's face. He couldn't help but be greatly startled and hurriedly looked around with his eyes. Forget about people minus, there wasn't even a bird. He didn't know where this mud lump flew from. Though his heart was very surprised, after all his curiosity was strong, and he relied on high skills and great courage. He still intended to go forward and knock on the door. Just as he raised his hand, suddenly wind rose behind his head. This time Zhu Chun wasn't careless like before minus, he hurriedly lowered his head. With a splat, it landed on the ground minus still a lump of dry earth. Hastily looking toward where the earth lump came from, he saw at a distance of over 20 zhen a human shadow flash into the woods and disappear. He couldn't help but feel angry in his heart and threw aside the thought of entering the temple. He flew on foot into the woods to pursue, preparing to search out that person and ask him why for no reason he'd twice played jokes on him. By the time he walked into the woods and searched all around, there wasn't the slightest trace. Just as he was about to give up pursuit, another lump of dry earth flew over. This time Zhu Chun had already kept 12 parts of attention. While dodging that lump of dry earth, he fixed his eyes looking ahead. He saw ahead this person was grown very small and thin, flying toward outside the woods. Zhu Chun's anger surged up minus, he pulled up his legs to chase. That person had such fast movement skills, feet not touching dust. No matter Zhu Chun's 1,000 li a day pace, he still couldn't catch up. Just like that, one running and one chasing. In a short time, they'd already gone over 10 li. As Zhu Chun chased, he thought, I've never met this person before minus. Why does he play with me like this? If he were an enemy, at the temple gate, I'd already have fallen to his ambush. Moreover, looking at his pace and movement, his martial arts are definitely not below mine. Why does he lead me to this deserted wilderness? Just as he was thinking, he suddenly understood and stopped to shout, Honored brother ahead, please stop a few steps and allow me, Zhu Chun, a word. No matter how he shouted until his throat was hoarse, that person just didn't respond. Suddenly he saw him stop at a tree. Zhu Chun's heart was greatly delighted and he walked forward. Just as they were far apart, that person suddenly pulled up his feet and ran again. Like shooting stars and lightning minus, in a blink he didn't know where he'd gone. Zhu Chun walked near the tree and suddenly saw on the ground a paper package. Picking it up and opening it, inside were the pills. On top was also a line of small characters writing keep for later use. Immune to 100 poisons. 8 characters.